Hi everyone, it's M.Boll here, and in today's lesson we are looking at this question: are all volcanoes the same? So let's do a quick recap. So far we've found out what's inside the earth, we've looked at tectonic plates and we understand how they move around, and we know that when they meet they can move in three different ways, and that this causes lots of the greatest events that can happen on the earth, such as earthquakes, which we've now got a lot of detail on and studied over the last two lessons, and today we're going to focus on volcanoes. In today's lesson we're looking first at supervolcanoes. What are they, and what would happen if one erupted now? The last time we know of one erupting is thousands of years ago, but what would happen if it happened now? Second, we're looking at the four main types of volcanoes: stratovolcanoes, I'll say that again, stratovolcanoes, shield volcanoes, cinder cones, and fissure vents. So by the end of this lesson you will know exactly what they are and be able to explain all about them. Today's tasks: we're going to research and categorize world volcanoes. I'll show you how to do that in a bit, and then we're going to draw the four types. Okay, now supervolcanoes. Now this is a photograph of a very famous place in America. Shout out if you already know what it is. Okay, I think some of you got that. That is the Yellowstone National Park. Right here, you can see how it's got its name obviously. Right here this is a permanently hot. Here's a hot springs. Sometimes it gushes up into the air. Often there's steam coming away, and this yellow color is caused by all the chemicals that are in there, because this is over a very large volcanic area, and underneath there are various reactions going on all the time, which makes the heat come up through the water. Now you can get an idea of how big it is, because these are people, see? So they have come down, they're in the Yellowstone National Park, they've gone there probably for a holiday, and they are on the road here coming down to have a look. Okay, so that is the amazing Yellowstone National Park. But it's also, as well as being a great place to visit, and I'd love to go, I've never been, it's also a supervolcano. So we're going to look at a short video about supervolcanoes. I've got it to exactly the right clip, so I'm just going to exit my PowerPoint and go to the right place. Okay, and here it is. So make this whole screen and you can see this bit. Obviously you could get it again later if you wanted to.
Is a super eruption. At this point, the buildup of pressure in a magma reservoir hits a critical mass and then explodes, sending over 1,000 cubic kilometers of tephra, or ash and rocky material, into the sky. The most recent super eruption occurred in New Zealand approximately 26,000 years ago. The supervolcano Taupo ejected about 1,100 cubic kilometers of tephra into the air, enough material to constitute nearly 500,000 Great Pyramids of Giza. After a super eruption, the supervolcano undergoes a stage called resurgence. Having dispelled its contents, a supervolcano's magma reservoir collapses and forms a caldera. The Yellowstone caldera in the United States is currently in resurgence after a super eruption occurred about 640,000 years ago. In the time since, freshwater collected in the caldera to form a lake. Plants and wildlife returned to reclaim the space, and some of the world's largest geothermal features emerged.
Okay, so you get a good idea all about that, and you can see that Yellowstone National Park is an absolutely beautiful place, and it would be lovely to go. Okay, now, will it erupt? Nobody really knows when it's going to erupt. It could erupt tomorrow, but it might not erupt for thousands of years. So probably, if you find out before you go, you can still go there, and you know, you'll be highly unlikely to have a problem. But what would happen if it did erupt? Well, scientists think it would throw thousands and thousands of tons of ash and rocks all over the surrounding landscape, and by the all over it I mean all over the US. It could be up to 3 feet thick of toxic ash over all the states, all the states around Yellowstone, and that includes Colorado, Wyoming, Utah, etc. And so all of those areas would not be able to grow anything, and lots of people unfortunately would die, and their power grid would be knocked out. It will be exceptionally serious. These supervolcanoes don't go off very often, okay, but if and when they do, it's a very big deal. Now let's move on to the 4 main types of volcano that we do have regularly going off and being active. Okay, so these are the 4 main types. So there are 4 types we're going to look at, and the first type is called a stratovolcano. Okay, and this one, this shape is very distinctive. They usually form a very high cone. Over all the times they've erupted, could be loads and loads of different times, they gradually build up these layers, as you can see. And so they've got layer after layer after layer. It gets bigger and bigger, and often these are really big mountains. And then when they do go off, it's very explosive. Often the magma inside gets stuck there for a long time. Pressure builds up, and when it blows, you get lots and lots of volcanic bombs and lots of ash, and could be very, very dangerous for people who live nearby. So that type is a stratovolcano. And most of the world's really famous volcanoes are this type, because those are the ones that make the headlines. Now the next type is a shield volcano. As you can see, it becomes a different shape. It doesn't end up being a big cone like a stratovolcano. It's a shield. It's more like a warrior's shield laid on its side. And so why does that happen? Well, the lava's not so sticky on this type of volcano, and the lava is quite runny. So it can go quite a long way, and off it goes to the side, to the back, all around, and that's why you don't get a really, really high mountain usually, or not a cone anyway, but you get this different shape, a shield. So you've got stratovolcano, shield. Now the third type is called a cinder cone. This type, it usually only erupts once. Okay, so it'll erupt, it'll blow its magma out, and then it'll have a crater afterwards. It doesn't get very high. It gets to about 250 meters, or maybe a little bit less, and then that's usually is it. The magma is exhausted. There hasn't got any more, unlike this type, which always has more coming, and so does this type. Okay, so those are the first 3 types. This type, the 4th type, is a fissure vent, and this often happens when the plates, the tectonic plates, are divergent, when they are moving apart. And you know that this is happening in the middle of the Atlantic. And when you go even under the water, you can see fissure vents down there where lava is coming up and gases are coming up into the sea. So 4 main types. There's a quick reminder of the main features. Stratovolcano is highly explosive, forms a high cone. Shield has runny lava, spreads a long way. Cinder cone only gets to about 250 meters high and will have a crater. A fissure vent is caused by divergent movement, and it can be under the sea. Okay, those are the 4 main types. Here's a bit more about each type. Stratovolcanoes. An example is Mount Fuji, the very famous biggest mountain in Japan. Okay, and they usually erupt in an explosive way. It clogs up the conduit, and it causes a big build-up of pressure. A shield, you get a lot of shield volcanoes in Hawaii, and you end up with this long shape. Here we go, like a warrior's shield, okay, spreading over a very, very large area. Cinder cone volcano, here's an example in Arizona in the US, and so it has had its explosion years ago, and it hasn't got more to come probably. And here it is. This one's called Sunset Crater. A fissure vent. Here's some examples. This one is on land, okay, and you can see it's sort of in a straight line. So it's basically the line of the tectonic plate, and this one is having an eruption at the moment. And you can get them under the sea. And here, this is what you would see, because here's all the smoke and the different colours of the chemicals and gases that are escaping into the sea. We're going to watch a little video. This is the section I recommend. So we're going to go straight to that because I've got it ready here. And there we go, just find it. Right, so we are...
There are several types of volcanoes, primarily classified by shape and size. Major types include stratovolcanoes, which often appear as tall, steep mountains, shield volcanoes, which are flatter and dome-shaped, calderas, which are large depressions in the ground, and mid-ocean ridges, which are underwater chains of volcanic mountains. No matter their shape or size, all volcanoes emit gas and molten rock. The journey of these emissions begins.
Okay, and that's the bit we're now. She's about to talk to us about what happens under the earth, and we know that already. But of course, you could watch the rest of that yourself at home if you want to. Okay, so here's where we got to. Fissure vents are one of the 4 types, and there was some great footage there on that video that we just saw of them going underwater and seeing a volcano happening under the sea, and some people have been asking me about that. Now these photographs here, these 9 photos here, are all real volcanoes that exist right now in the world. Okay, and there are the names of some of them here. Now some of them you've heard of, because of course you've heard of Mount Vesuvius, which is the one that destroyed the city of Pompeii, and we've discussed it before. These ones you might not know about. This one's really famous. It erupted in America, in quite near the Pacific, in Mount St. Helens, okay, over in 1980. So that one was very famous, but these other ones are all happening right now. This one, which is the hardest one to spell, okay, that one is on Iceland. And remember, we're talking about Iceland, the place, not the supermarket. Now you're going to look into some of these today. You're going to research and categorize world volcanoes. So now we're leading on to our task. Task 1 is to find out all about different volcanoes in the world. So here we go. I've done the first one for you. I've chosen Yellowstone. Where is it? Well, it's in the USA. What's the type? This is a very unusual type, and it's called a supervolcano. The last time it erupted, whoa, it's 640,000 years ago. We learned these keywords last week. Is it active, dormant, or extinct? Well, it's dormant. Okay, it is the type of volcano that is asleep. That doesn't mean it's not going to erupt again. It could do. In fact, it probably will, but it's not erupting right now. What's the danger level? Now, this is the bit you're going to fill this in, having done a bit of research. So I've done this one for you. This one is extreme danger. It could make the whole of the western United States turn dark. It could destroy crops and knock out the whole of the power grid. So how are you going to find out this information? Well, I'm going to show you. So we're going to skip to the next slide where I've done an example. So this one on here, I'm looking up Mount Etna. Now you may have seen this, and everybody who's here at school has seen it because we watched the video. This one's been going off in the last few days. Mount Etna has been erupting, okay, and so it's happening right now. It's in Italy. As soon as you type in Mount Etna on Google, this is what you get, and you probably won't need to visit any other website. You'll have all the information that you need right there. So look what I found straight away. There you go. That fills in my column about where is it. It's in Italy. What type of volcano is it? It's a stratovolcano. That's actually in the first line. What's the danger level? Well, I'm looking at information like this. There's right near to a city called Catania. And I looked up how many people live in Catania on a separate search, and it's about 350,000 people, so it's quite big. Okay, so this could be quite dangerous if it went off. So I'm using this to help me fill in my table. Okay, so if I take this yellow box away now, you'll see this is the type of thing I want you to do. So you've worked out that Mount Etna's in Italy. It's a stratovolcano. Last eruption is happening right now. Is it active, dormant, or extinct? Obviously it's active, and it has high danger. It's near a big city in Sicily, which is in the south of Italy. So I want you to do research like that into all of these volcanoes as well. Okay, so use Google. Occasionally you might need to go and visit, say it might pop up with a suggestion to visit Wikipedia, and you could do that, but you're going to get the information that fills in these columns, and normally you won't need to visit any other site. It'll just be there on the first page. You can work this one out by just looking at what are the cities that are near to it. And if there aren't any cities near to it, then the danger level's not that bad, because people are not going to be injured, or not likely to be injured by that volcano going off. Okay, now if you want to do a few more, or if you've got your favourite one that you've found because you've been doing some research, then you just add it onto the list and put it on to the table as well, and I'd love to see it. I'll be super impressed if you get a couple more in there that you are interested in, as well as the ones that I have selected. Okay, I've done all the spellings for you here, and obviously when you're typing it into Google, you'll need to copy the spelling really, really carefully, otherwise you'll get a load of nonsense about something completely different. Okay, so that's task 1. So you fill in this table and send it off to us so that we can look at it here at school. Look forward to seeing it. Task 2, this is just a quick rerun of how I did it. Task 2, you're going to draw the 4 types of volcano. Okay, so this is what they should look like, your pictures. Okay, and you don't need to add particular descriptions or anything on this occasion. You're just going to do a drawing. Remember that they are all different. So that's the main learning objective for today. Are all volcanoes the same? No, they're not. They have distinctive features, and you're going to be able to know what they are, the features, and to be able to find some examples of each type by researching yourself. Okay, well done. I look forward to seeing what you're doing, and all the best. Take care.